I never meant for him to hear that. It was one of those careless, wine-blurred moments where a joke slips out sharper than you intended. The kind of thing you can't take back once it's said. Evan had gone upstairs to take a work call. I was in the living room with his best friend, Dylan, scrolling through old vacation photos on the TV. We were laughing, genuinely laughing the way old friends do. The three of us had always been close. There was never anything romantic between Dylan and me. Just comfort, shared history, that familiar ease built over years of dinners and weekend barbecues. Then I said it. I don't even remember why. Maybe Dylan teased me for being bossy, and I wanted to tease him back. But I laughed and said, "Oh, please, Dylan knows my body better than I do." It was supposed to be a joke, an innocent offhand remark about how he'd seen me trip, bruise, twist an ankle on those hikes. But the second the words left my mouth, everything shifted. Dylan's laughter died instantly. His eyes flicked toward the stairs. And then I heard it, Evan's voice from above. Really? I froze. I turned around, and there he was, phone still in hand, his face unreadable. Dylan muttered something about needing air and rushed out before I could process what had just happened. Evan didn't yell. He didn't even look angry. That was somehow worse. He just stood there, silent, analyzing, like he was replaying every memory we'd ever shared, searching for the moment things went wrong. I stumbled over my words trying to explain. I told him it was a joke, that it didn't mean what it sounded like, that he'd misunderstood. But when our eyes met, I saw it, not confusion, but confirmation. "You think that's funny?" he said quietly. "You think that's something a wife should say about her husband's best friend?" My throat closed up. I reached for his arm, but he stepped back. The distance between us wasn't big, but it felt endless. That night, he didn't come to bed. I heard him pacing downstairs, opening drawers, scrolling through his phone, probably replaying every conversation, every laugh, trying to see if he'd missed the signs. By morning, he was gone. Just a note on the kitchen counter. "We'll talk later." The house felt heavy. Even the air seemed to know I'd done something I couldn't undo. When Dylan texted, asking if I was okay, I didn't answer. What could I possibly say? That my husband thought I'd cheated? Because of a joke that sounded too close to the truth? Because, in a way, maybe he wasn't wrong to wonder. Nothing physical ever happened, but there had been something emotional, a closeness I hadn't admitted even to myself. Evan and I had been drifting for months. Long hours, missed dinners, ignored anniversaries. Dylan had become the one who noticed me, when I changed my hair, when I looked tired. He laughed at my sarcasm instead of tuning it out, and maybe without realizing it, I'd started depending on that attention. Now, sitting alone in the kitchen, I kept hearing my own voice echoing in my head. Dylan knows my body better than I do. The more I replayed it, the uglier it sounded. I imagined how it must have hit Evan, out of context, cruel, humiliating, and I hated myself for handing him that image. 2 days passed. He still hadn't come home. His messages were cold, transactional. "I'll grab my things later. Don't wait up." Each one cut deeper than the last. I wanted to call him, to explain again, but every apology I rehearsed fell hollow, because beneath the guilt, there was another feeling I didn't want to face. Anger. Not at him, but at myself. Because maybe, just maybe, a part of me had wanted to hurt him, to make him feel the neglect I'd felt for months. Evan came back on a Wednesday night. No warning, just the sound of his key turning in the door. I was sitting in the kitchen pretending to check emails I couldn't even read. When he walked in, I froze. He didn't look at me right away. He set his bag down, took off his jacket, opened the fridge, like any other evening. Only this time, he didn't ask if I wanted anything. He grabbed a bottle of water, leaned against the counter, and finally spoke. "Where's Dylan?" The question sliced through the silence. "He hasn't been here," I said softly. "I haven't talked to him." Evan nodded once. His face stayed blank. "Good," he said. "I told him not to come around anymore." There was no shouting, no accusation, just a calm, controlled finality that made me feel small. "I didn't cheat on you," I whispered. He looked down at the floor. "You didn't have to. The way you said it. It was enough." You don't joke about things you haven't thought about. That hurt more than anything else, because he was right. I had thought about it. Not in the way he imagined, but the thought had lingered. The curiosity, the comparison, the what-ifs I never dared to speak. It was a stupid joke, I said quietly. He looked up then, eyes rimmed red, exhaustion etched into his face. You know what really stings? He said. It wasn't the words. It was that they sounded believable. When I heard them, I didn't think, she's lying. I thought, of course she did. There's no defense against that kind of honesty. He brushed past me and went upstairs. I heard drawers opening, hangers scraping, zippers closing. When I followed him, half his side of the closet was already empty. You're leaving? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then, without turning around, he said, I don't know. I just can't stay here right now. I wanted to stop him, to grab his hand, to say something that could remind him of who we used to be, but the word stuck in my throat. All I managed was, I miss you. He paused, his suitcase half-zipped. Then maybe you should have said that to me, he said quietly. Not to him. He left that night. Days turned into weeks. Dylan moved away, and I never heard from him again. Evan didn't block me, but he didn't reach out either. We were still married on paper, but strangers in every other way. Then one Sunday morning, a package arrived. Inside was a photo frame. The three of us at the lake years ago, soaked and laughing mid-splash. On the back, in Evan's neat handwriting, were the words. Every joke has a little truth in it. That's what makes it funny and dangerous. I didn't cry right away. It took hours for those words to sink in, because he wasn't just talking about that one night. He was talking about everything we'd left unsaid. That evening, I reread our old messages, the ones I'd ignored, the ones where he'd tried to reconnect, and I'd brush them off. Somewhere along the way, we'd both stopped trying. He replaced affection with distance. I replaced honesty with sarcasm. I wrote him a letter, not to beg or explain, but to finally say what I hadn't before. I told him the joke was never about Dylan. It was about me, about feeling invisible, undesired, desperate to be noticed again, even if it was for the wrong reason. I didn't send it. I folded it, placed it behind that same photo, and left it on his doorstep one evening. Then I walked away. Weeks later, I got a message from an unknown number. It was a picture, the same lake photo. Under it, he'd written, Got your letter. I believe you. I'm not ready yet, but I believe you. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was something. And for the first time in months, I let myself believe that maybe not every mistake ends in ruin. That sometimes, even the worst words can lead us back to the truth.